chance to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in. What a comeback.
All right, welcome to another episode of the 28-3 podcast. This one is the Hunkered Down Hurricane edition. It's Wednesday afternoon. We're all home from work, just kind of sitting around doing whatever. I guess except Nick, he's sitting in another state, sitting around doing whatever. Corey, are you drinking a White Claw? Is that a White Claw I just saw? No, not you, Corey. I saw a White Claw or something that looks like it.
Oh, no, it's Topo Chico.
There you go. Okay, is it the seltzer, alcoholic seltzer version of the Topo Chico?
Yeah, what I mean, but what
I don't
if
know,
it
I'd
was
like to make fun of you at that
Would that
point.
be a problem? Yeah, you know, but we're
You're
not
still
all
going to do it anyway.
I'm taking it easy going into my hurricane supplies. Okay, just got to start slow.
Wait, you're just starting today? I started last night, man.
Well, as we chronicled when we were trying to decide when we could actually record this episode, I was in the office up until noon today, thanks to
That Lafayette judge, shout out to him.
Judicial powers that be waiting to give us an extension of time. They're busy. I can't, I got to think we were the only one asking for extensions of time with the hurricane, but
But I think we would be remiss if we didn't welcome back the number one Saints podcaster in the land, Nicholas Shea, a.k.a. Nick OVERHILL, back to the pod. The People's Champ. The British People's Champ.
Hashtag the real Nick Shea D.
I'm back. I missed the Jono episode, unfortunately, but y'all went on for a while.
We always do when Jono's in the building.
I cheered him on. Yeah, it was a good episode. And I know y'all got into a little bit of the game stuff, reviewing the game, but I think we'll just get a little more in depth with it with us and kind of see what everybody thinks and what it means for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think, you should kick us off. I think Corey and I kind of sprinkled in some thoughts and opinions from the game last Sunday, but I'm real anxious to hear what you thought of the game because I know you were actually at the game for a little bit before you had to fly out for
most
work.
Of it. Yeah, I got to the third quarter and had to leave. But I think pretty much the game, rarely can you leave a Saints game around halftime and it be in hand and you're not worried all hell's going to break loose on you. I said the one thing I text Max was that's the most fun Saints game we've had since Drew Brees left. So that was surprising to me, to say the least. That level of performance in the first game with Kubiak's offense, I think it was a flawless performance offensively. 47 points scoring on the first 9 drives. Yes, we just kind of ran the clock out at the end and punted a couple times, but when we were trying to score, we scored every single time. So basically flawless on both sides of the ball. The few things to me that I think meant the most, there's something we brought up very early on when we started the podcast over a year ago. And the idea of moving Alante to safety is something I've said for a while, and I think both of you have agreed on.
Yep.
You see the potential of that in this game. Finally, he was put in that. Obviously, he was playing out of the slot, but that was the old, Roman Harper safety from 15 years ago, where freedom, go make a play, do what you do. I just think the guy has an incredible talent for that, and I think he is an okay slot corner. So why not? Why not mix that in? I think that dude can make $15 million a year in the league playing in a safety position, a disruptive safety. He's long, he's quick, he's fast. Anything you need, he can rush. He can play in the slot occasionally. He can, I think we've never seen him play a deep safety position, but I bet he would be incredible at deep safety position, being allowed to watch the field in front of him, watch everything develop. Now, I don't think that's going to happen either this season, but I really think it's the best for his future, and he should consider it rather than his stance. I think prior was I'm a corner and that's what I do. With that said, it was a perfect performance by him. So that one stood out for me big time. And the way they used them stood out to me big time. I had trying to be nitpicky and just trying to find faults in the game. On the defensive side, the only one I could even, remotely think is a negative is that I felt the defensive line did a great job, except they never got home by themselves. In a straight four-man rush, they weren't getting home, and they were being disruptive. They were making them throw off schedule. They were doing all those things, but they just didn't make the big play. Part of that could be a million reasons. Chase Young being in the backfield constantly is fantastic. First game since surgery, all that first real game since surgery. I'm not worried that he didn't get home, but I want to see him get home. If you're back there pressuring the quarterback 6-7 times a game, you need to get him on the ground. So that's a minor nitpick in that, they didn't get home. We got home with Alante. I think we had 5 total sacks. So excellent performance overall. But if that defensive line, I expect them to be dominant. So dominance is flipping the field, negative plays, not just causing an incompletion or whatever. So maybe there's a tiny little bit of room for improvement for the defensive line. Secondary was outstanding. The one concern I think we all had, was the safety position. Well, all 3 safeties had a turnover. So hard to all 3 safeties that had significant playing time in the game had a turnover. Howden had one, Harris had one, and Tehran had one. So flawless performance by them, and that was my biggest concern on the whole defensive unit. So great job. The corners were all over them all game long. Yes, Bryce missed 2 or 3 opportunities, I think, where he probably could have hit a guy and caught us for a 20-plus play, and he missed them. Part of that was the pressure. Part of that was, they had him confused all game, clearly. But it's Bryce Young. This isn't an elite quarterback yet. Maybe he does one day. I don't see it. I mean, it was a pretty poor performance by him. So take it with a grain of salt, but it was a perfect defensive performance. On offense, obviously, Carr, I don't know if you could play a better game than that. The incompletions were catchable balls. A great pass breakup on the other deep ball to Shaheed, which was right where it needed to be. Taysom had the ball in both hands, would have been an amazing catch, but an absolute perfect throw. Only place it could be caught, it was in both hands, could have been caught. Shaheed may have caught that ball that was ruled incomplete. The low throw where it looked like he got under it, they called it incomplete. And I think he had one other incompletion the whole game. And you're talking, we joked of some of the tweets about some of the throws Rattler made in the preseason. I think he just showed you he makes every throw. When he can set, he makes every throw. That Shaheed throw was 50-plus yards in the air, a rusher coming in his face.
It was on time.
Maybe need to delete that. But right in his face.
You sound like Trump last night.
Dropped it in perfectly. No kidding. Stumbling over his word.
You put that out.
Yeah, it's out there. And then the throw to Jawan obviously was, perfect throw. And then the Foster touchdown, you say, don't throw it. Perfect. Right over a defender. Perfect throw.
Yeah,
so
that
were my big ones there. Oh, also, and obviously the run game looked like the run game we were hoping somehow would happen. It looked exactly like we would hope it looked.
Boy, what you got?
Yeah, no, I agree. I was going to say, like, with Carr, he looked the part. He ran the offense the way it's supposed to be run, which, like I've said, is damn impressive for week 1, especially with the new offense. Obviously, he's talked about how it's not as complex as Peyton's or Carmichael's was. Some of the throws, the throwing back across the field to Foster, but when you watch the replay, I mean, he had a clear passing lane, and it looked like a damn defensive lineman was back there on the end line on like a zone blitz, and just dropping back. And so, it's hard to take fault really with a lot of anything Carr did. I mean, over 80% completion percentage is ridiculous. You might look at his stats and say, well, 200 yards seems like, if you're going to say couldn't have played better, then why did he only have 200 yards? I think that's really just how the game played itself out. We didn't need him once
also
he
got a
those,
long PI, right? On another deep Shaheed ball, they got a PI. That was a 40-yard play. Yeah.
Right. So, they could have inherently been higher. And then just as the game flow went, once we had success with the run game and you're up by a million, it just doesn't matter at that point. I agree with you on the run game. Loved the way it looked. Loved the way Fuaga looked. Penning had a good game. That's, you can't argue. I don't think you can argue with that. You can talk
I went
about
back and watched it, by the way. Just
me too.
The quick watch where you just see play to play to play to play to play. He was actually good. I've been the biggest critic. Probably. I mean, we all have. But like,
I was waiting to see on the rewatch, because I watched the game, like I told you, at my brother's house, and we're by the pool. There's a little bit of glare on the TV outside, and so you're maybe not watching as in detail as you might if it's just you in front of a TV. So I went back and watched, and I was waiting to see like a few plays that Penning just kind of like got away with, basically, where Carr got the ball out quick, so it covered up him blowing a block, or that someone got past him on a run play, but the runner already beat the play to the front side, so it didn't matter. He did his job, and that's like, was he up there in the PFF grades? I mean, I don't, no, but who cares, right? Yeah. Except for the two of our guys that did make it.
They allowed one sack for a yard, which was it looked like a quick route that wasn't there, and Carr stepped up in the pocket and tried to run and get a couple yards, not have a negative play, and got tackled right at the line of scrimmage. That was the only sack.
Yeah, and if you get one of those, that's fine. And then, but I like what you said about Alante. It's the more he's put the immature is kind of a cheap term to just throw out there, but the whole idea last year when someone threw it out there on Twitter, like, dude needs to play free safety, which we agree seems like a natural thing for him to do.
We've been talking about it for over a year.
We threw it out there, but I think.
But he got commented on by him on Twitter, I think.
Someone else like just randomly tweeted it. We're like, this dude's had the same tweet as what we've been talking about, and he clapped back so quick on Twitter publicly, was like, nah. And it kind of it seemed a little bit immature, but more than like immaturity, it was more just like it showed he's so mentally at that time was so mentally entrenched in really pushing to be an outside cornerback, which people have goals and they're driven in the NFL. That's fine, but since then we've seen him embrace more of, okay, I'm going to do what Dennis Allen, who is a really great defensive backs coach, is going to tell me I'm going to be good at. The more he's embraced it, you've seen him play like one of those players where when people say that guy just plays with great instincts, I'm not saying he's on Honey Badger's level yet, but the more I see him play the way he did this past Sunday, towards the end of last season, etc., it's just like he's playing with his instincts. And
what he should do is really look at some tape of Malcolm Jenkins, because to me they're so similar.
Yeah,
we drafted Malcolm Jenkins as a cornerback. He was the 13th or 14th pick, and once he got switched to free safety, it was almost like a foregone conclusion. This guy's going to play cornerback for a few years, then he's going to transition to safety. So he became a safety, and he became an all-pro safety. Like, Malcolm Jenkins was incredible in Philadelphia. Came back here and he was really, really good. And to me, I see so much of that in Alante Taylor. Like, all of that potential to do everything that Jenkins did is right there with Alante. And you almost hope that, I mean, I don't want to use the word immaturity, but as he matures and gets a little bit older and a little more, I guess, wise to what's going on, you might see him, and maybe we're already seeing it, to your point, where he's embracing it and saying, you know what, I'm here with a defensive coach who knows how to coach defensive backs as well as anyone. And he's going to put me in the correct position to make plays. And you know what? Maybe he is embracing it, and that's what we're seeing. That would be amazing to see him go on to have the half of the career that Malcolm Jenkins had.
Yeah, it's kind of like the player version of when they say quarterbacks, like Derek Carr did well at taking what the defense gives them. It's like, take what your career path is giving you. Like, you can fight it. You can work your tail off to be an outside cornerback. That's fine. And you probably will be pretty good. But if you want to be great, here's your best shot at it.
You want to get paid. You want to get paid. You're best off being elite at what you do than you are hanging on to a position that, that's not the position he wants to play either. I think we need to acknowledge that. He wants to be an outside lockdown corner.
Right.
That's what he's holding on to. He's not playing that position now because he's been beat out on this team, at least, by, in my opinion, they're better outside corners than him. And then we just drafted another outside corner that is probably better than him. So you want to get paid. Put 8 sacks on the board and 3 forced fumbles and, in coverage, make a couple picks, be disruptive.
Dude, Roman made a lot of money over his career. So the blueprint is there. Yeah. Go ahead and embrace it.
And
man.
I'm pretty sure Roman would tell you this guy has more just innate physical skills than Roman had. He is faster than Roman and quicker. Roman hits harder, is tougher, probably stronger. But
bigger.
Like in this game, like Alante's length, like he seems to have incredibly long arms, but he can rescue these plays even when he's beat sometimes. It seems like he's just built for that.
He's fast too, man. He's under
4'4", he seems to hit
super fast. That's what I mean by some physical skills better than Roman. Yeah,
he seems to hit harder than what his build would make you think. Like he seems slender, but I think the speed plus the length, and he's just skilled. It's like and no one's ever going to question his athletic ability. I think there's not many receivers that he can't run with step for step in the NFL. Right. He's great at one-on-one passing drills in training camp. We've all seen the videos, but it's pretty glaring when you watch game film or just recall games. The difference between him at outside corner versus him in the slot, it looks to our eyes different. Which is, it's not a nuanced difference. It's like, dude, you are so much better lining up in that slot.
And keep in mind, we still all believe, I think, even though, again, we had a great game from the safety position, we feel there's a safety position wide open, ready to be taken for a long time here. At least I think probably the 2 guys who are going to rotate in and out at that position this year are probably backups for their career so far from what we've seen, most likely.
Yeah.
So there's a spot just waiting to lock down. And he's coming up on a contract year next year, correct?
Yeah.
So this is his 3rd year, right?
Hey,
so,
DA.
After next season,
Right. So after next season.
Well, it's funny, too, because he's almost playing in an odd way. We're sitting here like, you should play safety. And I agree with that in general. But the better he continues to play at slot, it's almost like he's playing himself out of the free safety thing. Because the first thing we would have to do, let's just say we said, okay, Cowboys, you're lining up at starting deep safety. Well, then who are we putting in the slot? Or even if we know who that guy's going to be, do we feel as good about a nickel corner, which is pretty much essential in this day's NFL? Do we feel as good about the guy that's going to replace him?
But a lot of free safeties play in the slot some too, right? Especially on 3rd down.
Gardner Johnson.
So I'm just like knowing that we have that. We almost always have that extra DB on the field, so there's gonna be both in our case.
I think the way I'm phrasing it and saying free safety is, hey, DA, put me all over the field, right?
Sure.
I want you to move me around. I want you to put in spots with freedom, unless I'd rather him have freedom than every play chasing down a slot receiver. That's
more
what
of like a Kirby Smart calls it the star defender.
Exactly. That's the spot we're talking about.
That makes sense.
No, and look, he's got the talent. He's got the talent to
games.
be an all-pro at the safety spot. And to Nick's point of just being that movable chess piece, almost that the joker of the defense sort of thing. We always used to talk about Reggie Bush was the joker of the offense, the whole, John Gruden term. I think he came up with it back in the day.
Love that.
Yeah,
love
so
those
same situation on defense, whether you want to call it the star concept or joker, it's the same principle. Just have Alante just be a movable chess piece. Just turn him loose in all different spots and just let him go make plays. Yeah. But also to echo what Nick said, the defensive line, I mean, if we're nitpicking, that would be the only thing I would bring up, just finishing the sacks. It was almost it was like watching Peyton Turner in the preseason where he had so many pressures in that one game. And it's like, can he just get home and get that sack? Just finish it off. You know what I mean? I feel like the narrative of his preseason changes so much if he finishes just 1 or 2 of those sacks.
Peyton Turner did get home on one play. It was against his own teammate.
Yeah. He also got a personal foul called on.
He tackled the shit out of
Yes,
Sheehy.
he did. That was impressive and not a good way.
Also, Alante held him up first, and then
it was a team effort on that one.
Yes, it was.
And then the Panthers had a friendly
dude. That's what I was about to say. That happened right
in
in front of my seats, man. I'm looking at that. I'm like, what the hell are they doing?
Well, you see offensive linemen try to hold up their quarterbacks when they think they're going down, but it was like, I think Bryce is so skittish. It's like the second he felt hands on him, he just hit the deck. You know, and the offensive lineman, you can see the offensive lineman hold his hands up like, dude,
I
what are you
mean,
doing?
Bryce weighs less than you and I, so he's probably weighs right around the same as Nick.
He probably weighs less than either of your dogs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're about the same size.
He even looks smaller. He looks smaller than his measurables even. You see him out there, you're like, how can he see over anything?
Dude, he looks like he's Nick's size. Like, how much do you weigh? Like
he
160?
seems to me like...
Yeah, so Bryce Young looks like he's the same size as Nick.
He's like the guy where, like, if you let him borrow your car for the day to help, like, if he needs to move some shit, you get back in your car and you, like, hit yourself on the steering wheel.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck?
Bryce is getting carded anywhere he goes. He's that guy, I don't care where he goes to buy a beer at a liquor store. Like, he's getting carded because he looks like he's 12.
Casino.
Well, everybody
tried to go to Caesars this past weekend.
Casino, buddy. Maybe you don't.
That's right.
To have one more nitpicky thing, now that we've kind of been talking about the O-line and some of those crazy plays, it was the penalties. Just those drives. Carr and even AK, they both bailed us out of. Carr bailed us out of 2. AK had like a 17-yard run or short screen. I can't remember which one it was to get us out of a 2nd and 20.
Came back, right?
Yep. And to give those the Shaheed reverse, that was a 10-yard reverse got called back. So that's going to happen, but against a defense like Dallas, you're not getting that 20 yards on 2nd and 20. We were able to do it against Carolina, but you're not going to be able to consistently recover from those holding penalties on drives. Those are drive killers.
You're going to have far fewer chances as the game goes on to make up for it. Even
exactly.
You're going to have far fewer plays now, unless we can.
And then one follow up on the safety comment that Nick made earlier. So it looks like Will Harris is now the official starting strong safety this week. So that change was made.
Okay.
So
I'm
good with that too, but it's just that's the spot.
Interesting.
And we talked about it in the season preview episode. We were all concerned with that spot. That was the one perceived weakness on the defense. Every other spot I think we all felt pretty good about. And that's the one. And I have a feeling this might be a weekly thing where it's going to be a revolving door over who's listed as number one. You're going to see Abram brought back at some point, and he'll probably start a game or two. So I don't know. That's the spot. To Nick's point, you really could see Alante just sliding in, and maybe the Honey Badger goes back to that strong safety spot. I mean, it would make so much sense.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anybody that can,
the Honey Badger plays both.
Figure out the chess pieces.
He's good either way.
Yeah, he can. He could play anywhere. I mean, if you said, "Hey,
how good was that play?"
You're gonna be the Mike, then do it.
He causes the fumble. I just watching guys like that all of a sudden the ball's always right. They know exactly where it's going to be. He causes that fumble as he's tackling the guy. The ball's 5 yards ahead of him. He just rolls over, gets into the play, bats it to himself, and recovers it. I mean, that was an incredible play by Honey Badger. To cause that and recover it was
hold on. I need to interject real quick. Corey,
it was like vintage.
I think we forgot. You got to do your thing. Give Steve the customary Corey shout out real quick.
Hey, I hadn't forgotten.
Well, we can't wait till the end. Go ahead and give our guy a shout out.
I thought that was the point.
Well, no, we know he's going to be there, but go ahead and give it to him now.
Steve?
Yeah. There it is.
What up, bro?
Boom.
We know you're listening.
This is your shout.
So, Nick, just to clue you in on that. So we were.
And Steve from the UK, he is always listening. And but to be honest, though, Steve is one of our biggest guys. Like he is always.
He's the man. We loved having him on the episode.
He's giving us the praise, but he's genuine, and we love guys like Steve. And just because he's awesome and fun to hang out with, but he's tuned in. Like he'll remind me of stuff that I said. I'm like, oh, that's right, I did say that. That was
we still owe them a visit, Corey. We got to get our visit over there.
I want to go. We got to figure out what team is that? Did you say
club.
Team or club?
Yeah.
We're gonna
Look, I'm good with anybody that spontaneously decides he's going to fly halfway across the world at the last minute.
That was incredible.
So that's my guy, Steve. You're the man. Thanks for listening, Nick. So the whole reason this came out, so it's the Hurricane we're all on right now. Corey and I have been going back and forth with the guys in the Saint City Me Discord, and we it just came up that we got to give Steve our shout out. He gets left out all the time when Corey does his customary rounds. So today we changed that.
Yeah. I think I said like that. Dan had hit his quotas. I think of end of episode shout outs. Like I think I hit the max for the past 30 days. So
if we restrict your shout outs, our episodes are going to be 50% shorter, Corey.
I think it's a sign we need to start getting some advertisers so I can just shout out to people that pay us instead of when we get our video rolling, we can have them on the Jumbotron and the Superdome.
Yeah, you already got Oshner on there, so it's old player, but
a little foreshadowing. Well, Oshner was already on there, so I need to,
we'll figure it out. Anyway, I didn't mean to get us off track this much, but just wanted to make sure Steve got his proper recognition for being a supporter. But
I think he did. I think that was good. I think we've
look, man. Probably my favorite episode to record was the one where we had the three of them in studio with us. Man, we had so much fun. Went out and got some drinks after, and it was a good time. So.
Who were the other two guys with Steve? It was
Mitch. No.
Mac.
Mark. No. Mike. Michael. Mike. What was the other guy? Donnie
and
Dave.
Y'all gonna lose your shout outs. Y'all keep this up.
I think it was there was a Dave in there.
Dan and Mike, the guys.
What is he a procrastinator on Twitter?
No, but I think it would be fun to take a trip to their side of the pond and go hop on the podcast in person with them. Would be awesome.
Well, Lizzie and I have talked about doing it for my 40th, which is this coming July. So. Nope. This is the last year I have to rub that in y'all's faces.
How do you look older than both of us?
But Max, you bring up age all the time.
Younger than both of us.
I don't know what you're looking at.
I'm looking at the screen of you and Nick
this
and me.
Face, this frame is the image of youth.
Anyway, all right. So back to actual football. What else did you guys like from the game?
Football.
Actually, let me say this first. We touched on this.
Special teams.
Hold on, we touched on this with Jono, and Jono actually agreed with this. The experience in the dome, it was honestly. Nick said it earlier. It was the best experience in the dome since Breeze was here. It was the energy was electric. Just seeing the players, the way they were playing off of each other. They had their own handshakes and high fives and all that shit going on. But the one that's making the rounds with Jamal Williams and Fuaga, that's what was missing last year and the year before. There's a certain something that's popped back up this season. Like, look at the post-game videos in the locker room. Like, the locker room's got the smoke machines and shit.
So let's get into that real quick. Because I like this topic, but let's get into that a little bit. The masses of the fan base said the reason we lost that was Dennis Allen. Well, he's still here. So what's the reasoning? Because I agree 100%. I saw Olave blocking in the fourth quarter on Jamal's run, like actually blocking. You saw all the players celebrating together. You saw, now they're winning, and obviously winning makes that easier. But what do you think it was that makes that change so much just with one off season? Because the coach is still here, and that's kind of what was the consensus of the problem. The guys weren't having fun. He wasn't the right type of leader. We've all been very critical of him, of course, and I still think rightfully so for a lot of things. But what could it have been if it isn't him and he's not the problem? What does that mean?
Was it the Mickey Loomis pep talk at the end of the season? Probably not.
Yeah, probably wasn't
not.
That.
Can only imagine how much players love to get talked at by their general manager. I think, though, it's DA. Some guys are just fine when things are good. It's who are you when things are bad, And so I think it's still possible that when things took a nosedive last year, which I still attribute a lot of to Pete Carmichael, because
could be. What about Mike Thomas? I think you got to talk about Mike Thomas. That's a veteran leader on the team.
yeah, you had some potential just push and pull, some social tug of war going on between guys in the locker room. And then if you don't, from a X's and O standpoint, you're not going to win games. You can't control time of possession. And if you're doing the vanilla bullshit that Pete Carmichael did, you're not going to control time of possession. You're going to lose games. The vibe's going to be bad. So I think that DA did not do well when the vibes were
I'm
bad.
glad you brought up Michael Thomas, because I've had this discussion with Ian on Twitter. We've gone back and forth on this, and it's, you got to have that buy-in, and if the guys aren't bought in, get them the fuck out of here, because this is
and that's what they did. And the fans got very critical.
That's the vocal minority that's going to bitch and moan about every fucking thing that happens. It's the same people who are whining and complaining about why didn't this organization send out a proper thank you to Michael Thomas? Because you know why? Because he was a fucking asshole for the last bit of his time here.
Well, he burned the place down on the way out. So
if you get fired from your job, you know what I mean? Which basically when you get released from your contract, you kind of are. They don't send you a shout out. They don't send out a memo to, the rest of the company saying, hey, thanks to this guy who just fucking flipped us off on the way out. Thanks to everything he did for us over the last couple of years. And look, Michael Thomas didn't even sign yet.
You're the enemy now.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that was
just
a great example.
Something's up. Like the rest of the league can look at it and say, maybe this guy isn't the best person to introduce into a locker room right now.
No, I mean, Mike MT clearly got in his own way as a person, and I got nothing against guys in general that want to stand up for themselves. I mean, when he was healthy, he put out a product on the field that couldn't be argued with. But then of course came the injuries, and he offered one of those cases.
A player on an active team. No, I know. I'm saying just on an active team. Right, he's still on the team. He's hurt. Yeah. He's at home, talking crap about his players.
That's what I'm getting at. Is that he is one of those guys who's like, it's hard to analogize it, but it's kind of like in his mind, he never stopped becoming that offensive player of the year, and It was like there was no read the room factor 100%. From Mike, and so, and then also in his mind, if he ever comes off of that mentality, well, then he's double downing on never getting back to what he was. So from his perspective, there's that. But there's also a read the room perspective where it's like, okay, dude, but you still are effectively an employee. You got this contract, but until your contract is up or until they release you or trade you, like your squad, your bosses are these people. And it is a very public job. And what you say is overanalyzed. Too much,
and that bothers me less than going after the players, though. That bothers me, and I agree with you on that stance, 100%. But when you're going after your teammates, no matter, especially via social media during games, like I can't get behind that in any way. Yeah,
that's where it got to be just too much, and so I think the Saints could have found a happier medium than what they have done, because I mean, the guy is truly one of your best wide receivers on the field of all time.
Was.
There's
past tense.
Well, was. You're right. I mean, he's not on the team anymore. Was. I should have said was, but so like
I just meant referencing last year he wasn't.
Hold on. Let me say this though. So
I think they could have given him some acknowledgement. They didn't have to
no, there doesn't need to be any
love letter to him. But
you release a player, it gets announced on the fucking wire, and that's it. And here's another thing: look at Carr's performance after Michael Thomas was done last year. That is when Carr went on his run. Carr finished the season hot as hell. I mean, Nick can probably spit out the stats of what he did over the last 6 games. Guess who didn't play in those last 6 games?
Yeah.
You don't think there's some correlation between that?
60. I think there is.
There can be. I'm just saying, like, we're talking about, you can break down what we're talking about into multiple different things. As an organization, the guy who set an all-time NFL record with your organization, who won Offensive Player of the Year, it's fine to give him, as big of a dick as he could have possibly been, it's fine to give that guy a little bit more of an acknowledgement than a wire, news.
Not when he's being
an
asshole on the way out.
You have to do some.
Max, right. I agree with Corey.
Newsflash, guys. NFL players are
Exactly.
assholes sometimes. Right. Okay. So like, but it doesn't mean, I'm not saying they had to give him some huge, like, flowers or tribute.
He got so
Sarah
many
McLachlan
flowers
bullshit.
that year and the year after. I remember it all, like all the constant posts from the Saints official account saying Michael Thomas sets this record. Michael Thomas, All Pro. Michael Thomas, Pro Bowler.
But obviously that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about any guy most guys from. Look, they did what they did. I'm not gonna go be mad at the Saints forever or period.
Well, I'll say this, Corey. You know what they didn't do? Talk bad about him.
They didn't do that,
did about them. So
yeah.
I would in an ideal world, I agree with you 100%. I would love to see any player that's contributed here with a good send off and be positive. I think when that player was so aggressively negative about so many aspects of the franchise and even the team, I'm okay with them just moving on. I think, I don't want him to talk bad about him in any way on the way out. I get it. He's probably frustrated with the way his career went too. And I think you nailed it by saying he still thinks he's that guy and he's had a tough time. And that's probably the real issue with it. And when you think you're the guy and you're not getting the ball, but you weren't that guy anymore. Maybe you were still good. I thought he was going to have a great season that last year. Y'all can go back and listen to the tape. I was wrong. Again, he got injured. He didn't do it. So, I just think when you act the way you act, then people get upset by not getting a great send off or anything like that. I'm fine with them just being like, okay, that era's closed. He was a great player here. He's going to be back here and in the Saints Hall of Fame down the road when everything dies down. It's going to be fine.
Time will heal. Yeah, but it does bring us back to like the original point why we brought that up, and it goes back to things that I've actually harped on before, which is that locker room character component, right? I mean, there's chemistry there. It helps. And I like seeing it.
Who you think they added to it, or is it addition by subtraction, or do you think we added to that because we still have all our main guys, the Mario, Cam?
I'm going to say addition by subtraction.
It's addition, but I think there's some kind of low key pickups.
Chase Young's gay, I think.
I've heard little Chase Young guys that want to be there, and which is reminiscent of the 2009 Super Bowl year, where you're picking up guys that were cast off by other franchises who want to make a splash, want to show they can come back and say that they're the guy, but do it the right way, like Chase Young.
How about AK's press conference?
I was going to say AK and also Carr, because AK is probably these guys read everything, a lot of the stuff that gets posted, whether it's articles by legit media or posts by idiots like us, but they read this stuff, and AK's reading stuff that he's 29 years old. He's not worth another big contract. Damn well that Derek Carr knows that any QB rankings list has him in the mid-20s. And as a competitor, they're looking at this and they're saying, you know what? Fuck these people. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Let me put a bigger chip on my shoulder than I had, and let me go out and play and show them that I'm better than I am. You know what I mean? Because look at –
You saw Cam Jordan –
exactly. That's what I was talking about.
On his podcast. Yeah.
And you look at Carr. Yeah. Carr looked at JC Horn in the game the other day. And what did he do? He's like, 3. I got you 3 times today. And that's the sort of thing that we're seeing. These guys have chips on their shoulder that we might not have seen in years past. You know what I mean? So it's a motivated, by all, I guess, accounts of the first week, it's a motivated group. So let's see if they can keep it going.
Yeah, I think it definitely, and it's refreshing.
But we can agree DA didn't lose the team
Obviously
last year.
was correct.
Okay.
All right, Corey's got something to say.
Corey.
Yeah, well, I don't know that we can just agree that DA did not lose.
I mean, they went 9-8 last year and
because
were a play away from the playoffs. He didn't lose the team.
I'm saying that I don't know that it's as black and white as y'all.
The road was probably rocky because at some point during the season, and he might have been on the verge of losing it. But
so what I'm saying is, what we've seen, and again in 1 week, and we'll see what happens if things get rocky over. We have a tough stretch. Things get rocky, they go back up. That's the nature of this league. But I think it's safe to say that DA could very well be one of those coaches. Like, good coaches can keep a team together when they're winning, or when they're close to winning, when things don't seem like they're hitting the fan. Good coaches can also lose a team when negativity just sweeps over a building. This team, with all of its chemistry, if they go on a bad run, can have some pretty tough, like, psychological chemistry days where, like, the vibes probably won't seem to be all there if this team ends up, taking a turn south before they kick it back up.
But didn't we see that last year? Because we took a really bad turn in the middle of the season. We finished strong as hell.
Well, that's
Nick,
what I'm talking about.
What was our record in the last 5 games?
No, we already know.
4-1. Okay, so you know what? A lost locker room doesn't go 4-1 to finish the season.
It could have been lost before
but then
that.
It was recovered
when the things
if
were
they
tough.
go 4-1.
Right. I put more of the locker room recovery and vibes. I put a lot of that on the players, especially the collective age of our team, the experience of the leaders in that room. DA, like we said, he's a fantastic coordinator, and he kind of comes across.
By no
as
means
that.
am I saying all of a sudden he's a great head coach. That's not what I'm saying at all. All I'm saying is I think sometimes we jump to conclusions. And last year, a lot of the narrative that we're losing the team because of some of AK's interviews and just the way, some of the things Carr said and Mike Thomas and all those things, like maybe we were just struggling.
Exactly. There was that.
Well,
they were going through turbulent times, and they pulled it together and rebounded to go 4-1.
Yeah, I still will stand by. I think the players are the ones who rebounded it.
No, they absolutely did. But at the same point, the coaching staff, like if the players aren't gonna, there would be no buy-in.
You think DA himself? You saw this man between.
No, but Corey,
did you see anything different? Hear me out. Did you see anything different out of DA in the last 6 games, the last 5 games than you did?
No, I would say that's what I'm saying. Though I think he was the same guy the whole way. And,
right.
But
so that's what I'm saying. DA didn't do jack shit.
No, but I think what Nick's saying is he's saying it was overblown how bad he was.
I'm saying it both ways, Corey. Exactly. I'm saying I don't think he lost them, and I don't think he gained them back. So I'm kind of in agreement with you in that the players kind of dictated probably both of those situations. If they got you a little. Like
always gonna be my shtick with DA is that like. And look, we're asking for a lot, right? Because we were spoiled with Sean Payton. We're spoiled with a guy who absolutely sets the tone for the entire, when Payton was here, basically the entire organization, and he was a dick, sure, but he was a leader, right? And it was unquestioned. And we saw success from it, a lot of success. So we're spoiled, right? We're used to that huge personality guy who, if the team went south, you were like, we would say, maybe right or wrong, that we feel like Sean Payton can do what he has to do to get this team picked back up. Now we had Drew Brees, we had huge character guys.
Our fan base loves Petty.
Maybe
and
we'll never
the
know.
King of Petty, right?
So that's why I think we struggle with DA is because if the team is ever south and you don't have that collection of leaders in the locker room,
well, here's the real big difference is that there is no
DA can be the guy to pick it back up.
That is what elevated Payton higher than what he is. And is going to pull DA down lower than what he is that there is no Drew Brees in the locker room. All due respect to Cam Jordan, DeMario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, all those guys. Drew Brees, when it's the best player on your team and a Hall of Fame top 10 quarterback ever, he elevated Payton higher in our eyes than Payton should have been. And the fact that DA did not have Brees at any point as a head coach is going to lower.
You'll never know. But you'll never know. It doesn't mean DA would have been as good as Sean was with Drew, right? But he also doesn't have the same circumstances. So,
he doesn't have the safety net that Payton.
I think there's a reason Payton left, and the reason was the roster, in my opinion. That was the main reason.
He saw what was coming down the road.
Right. And he's like, this is going to be a lot of work to get back, and I want to break. It's if we were really good, he's not leaving. So, and now he's taken that on after a year off, and he's taken on an average roster, and he's going to try and turn that around, and we'll see where he goes.
See how long he lasts.
He's going to answer the question for all of us, right? Because the next few years over Denver, we're going to see, is he a transcendent coach, or was him and Drew just a great match, and it was a super great fit and perfect coming off Katrina, all this momentum, did it all just work perfectly at the perfect time, or is Sean some elite all-timer. We're going to find that out just because he left. And that's years down the road, and we'll see where it all plays out. I don't think by any stretch to say DA, if he had Breeze, would do what Peyton did.
Agree.
I don't know.
But we don't know. Exactly.
Right. So, but I think the reason I say what I'm saying, okay, that's fair, is that it seems we get really behind these like narratives sometimes, and we snowball them, right? And we get all charged up, and everybody piles on.
The social
and sometimes
media
it's just
age.
like, calm down a second.
There are some people that even sell T-shirts about it.
Yeah, maybe. Never heard.
Hey
of
man, making money is making money.
But
the game is
right.
the game, as
That's
they say.
But
I don't.
There's a couple we've talked about here and there.
Podcast.com.
The fan base was devastated when we didn't go all in on Eric Bieniemy. Right?
Oh, hold on. Before you start with this, hold on.
Okay.
I've been waiting for him to make this point for like 2 weeks because we went back and forth in text messages about this, and this is going to be a very, very. It's a great metaphor for our fan base as a whole. So go ahead and proceed.
We'll talk about a few of them, but that's one I remember. And
excitement from Max.
Max and I went back and forth about it. I think we actually talked about it a little bit on one of the pods when Corey. This would have been a while ago. This would have been last year, prior to Carmichael's second chance, right?
Yeah.
And he was in the building, and we build all that up. The truth is, no one wanted to hire Eric Bieniemy, and now Eric Bieniemy's not doing well in college. Okay, he was the guaranteed next head coach. He never got a job. He went to Washington. It didn't go great. He's out after a year. Now he's in college as an OC, and it's not going great. Yeah. So, but we were devastated. So we can turn these things that are maybes, right? Like at most a maybe, right? And make them the biggest thing. And this is why we're failing as an organization. Yeah. I think a little more patience is sometimes merited, sometimes not. We can all agree that the Carmichael move is the right move right now. We all see. Sometimes you got to cut bait as soon as you realize it's not working. Sometimes you have to stick through things and see if you see some things you like, and you got to keep going. What was the other one?
I'm trying to remember. The Bieniemy one was the huge one because that was the one the entire fan base was up in arms that we kept Bieniemy in an interview for like 8 to 10 hours and didn't offer him anything. You know, everyone's like, disrespect. They did this, they did that. Probably Doug Peterson was the other one. The Zoom interview.
It was. For the coaching thing, it was Doug Peterson.
But Bieniemy, Bieniemy has
Zoom.
done nothing. He has shown that he is a product of Andy Reid's system, and it's like the Belichick tree. How many of those guys went on to become great head coaches? I'll use Matt Patricia as a prime example. You remember all the hype he was getting when he went to Detroit to be the head coach? What the hell happened?
How about McDaniels twice? How about Bill O'Brien?
All these guys. And 2 or 3 years later, Patricia's back with the Patriots as an offensive coordinator this time in Bill Belichick's last year, amazingly. I mean, you know, how crazy is that when you put this guy as an offensive coordinator and the offense is inept? But I think it's the same thing. Andy Reid, one of the best coaches of all time, he, much like Breeze, elevated Bieniemy up to a level to where the public perception was that this guy is the next great guy, and now he's fucking floundering as a college coach. Everyone was up in arms. You remember Saints Twitter; they were losing their fucking minds.
And we're talking about a year ago.
Literally a year ago. People were losing their minds. And then, what was it? The Commanders hired him. He was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Nothing happened. You didn't see any real glimpse.
They came out.
That stuff with Ron Rivera.
So it's
you know, this year, obviously, the big Rattler thing we've already gone in depth on. We don't need to do that any further. But, you know, that momentum, sometimes the momentum seems to trump common sense. And so not that there's anything wrong about it. I think that's what being a fan is. And honestly, I think that's what social media is about. It's about being passionate and just being out there and wild. So I have no issue with it. I'm just like,
my problem with it, everything is either, and we saw this last night in the debate with Trump, everything is either the greatest thing of all time or it's the worst thing of all time. Everything is an extreme. You know what I mean? Like there's no real clarity on, I guess, what the perception of something is. It's either it's the worst of all time or it's the best, and that's not reality.
The term
Oh God,
GOAT
it's thrown around so loosely now. I fucking hate it.
used to be it's a
There
singular.
used to be one goat, right?
It's a
There used to be
singular term.
one.
There used to be one goat per category, per genre. Now they're running out of goats.
They are.
You know, the goat farm is going dry because there's too many goats.
Yeah.
They're eating the goats.
I mean,
These people are coming and they're eating the goats.
Yeah, oh God. that one wasn't as bad as your normal ones.
Look at that
I've never
compliment
done
from
that.
Max
Somewhat of a
Corey, if you got it.
There's never
There's
been
some bad ones. The Trump ones aren't that bad though. They're not awful. There was one you hit with Jono.
A lot
that
of
was
people like 'em.
terrible. I don't remember what it was. It was fucking terrible. And even he kind of looked.
Oh, I did Chris Collinsworth. He must have been faking it when he was like, "Ah, this is
Yeah,
good.
no, I looked at him
Collinsworth."
and the look on his face said it wasn't good. He was
Well,
being
he's
nice.
being nice.
He was.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
I'm actually starting to get some light flickers here, guys. There's some drama on the podcast. You're
I
right
like
on the
it.
water, Max. I don't know
Yeah,
how
dude,
you're.
the water is rising. It's above the ground out here now. So
Want to give the listeners a Jim Cantori from your from the Max Dar
He's a
Saints
Bob
Studios?
Brett.
yeah, no. What's the weatherman from South Park? It's raining. Ollie, I think
What's
his name
that?
was.
Family Guy. There's a clip from Family Guy where it's
Family
like,
Guy, that's what
over
it
to
is.
you. What's the weather? It's raining sideways.
Well, that's what it's doing. It is raining sideways right now.
Yeah, my lights flickered a couple times, but that probably means
I'm not far from the power grid, so I think I'm good. I'm right by the pumps,
Yeah,
all
they give you
the
people to
Station
live.
6 pumps, all that good stuff. So I'm right there. So I think we'll be all
Yeah.
right.
Brave man being outside the levee.
Yeah,
protection
dude, I
system.
forgot that they. Well, I didn't think about the fact that they take a
Close the
while
gate?
to reopen the gate. So I kept my car inside.
You stuck?
Alex put hers outside. So yeah, I might not
How
be
do you
working
get-
tomorrow because
is
I'm
there
not
a
gonna be
foot-
able to leave.
I guess I never thought about it. Do they have a
You
door
go over
you
the
can get through?
steps. So there's a big. You have steps.
They have
So
steps.
We
Okay.
did that after Ida, and it was fun because we waded through like 3 feet of water, and
To avoid an engineering conversation we're not qualified to have, if anyone's curious, just Google floodgates.
yeah, I'm on
in
the
New
outside
Orleans.
of them. So,
You'll know what I'm talking about.
but no, it'll be fine. I think. I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be too crazy.
That's what they all say.
I don't know. I feel like we left for some of the bigger ones.
No, we did. I mean, Ida was one I could have left for, but I
Oh,
stayed.
you stayed for that one?
Uh,
We left because we ended up
yeah.
at the Saints Packers game in Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, I stayed. I got curious when the storm was at its peak, and I put on my Jesuit football helmet so I
Oh,
didn't
of
get
course you did.
hit by
Yes.
by debris.
What
Went
number were
outside.
you again? No,
Survived.
31, that's it.
31.
One day I'm going to get one
Yeah.
that says Mall on the back. I'll wear it proudly.
I got my jersey. I'll wear it for one of our
Does it have a name
video
on the
pods.
back?
No, we didn't have names. We weren't
No.
individuals, Max.
Can
We're
we
a
put your
team.
name on the back?
That's right.
You can
Catholic
get a different.
school, Max.
You
Catholic
can
school.
get a different jersey. Talk to Jesuit. You know,
I really
people
don't anymore. It's been a while since we patrolled the halls of Carrollton and Banks.
there. What? You're not on the.
I feel like the star fullback could get us
Exactly,
some
right?
jerseys.
What number was Casey? What number was
I know a
Casey?
guy
I
that
don't want
knows a
his
guy.
jersey.
He was.
Oh, look at that. The inverse. 13 and
That was
31.
my-
I like
that was-
that.
That was my grandpa's doing. I had already had 31 when I got on the varsity, and then when Casey came in 2 years later, somebody may or may not quote have asked the coach if the younger brother could.
13's
be
a
the
better
inverse.
number.
No, it's not. It's unlucky
Yeah,
as
it's a better
shit.
number.
Not for a fullback.
For a fullback, you need to be in the 40s.
I think it with the 30s.
Who was 31? Was it Larry Sinners? No, he was 37, right? Yeah.
37, yeah. I think.
I think so.
37.
I'm trying to,
yeah.
So who's the best Saint that wore 31? Not Jarris Bird.
We had
31.
We had a banjo,
Banjo,
at
that's
31.
right. Okay, good special teamer.
Was
No,
Hardy
was
31?
34.
When
No.
Yeah.
34. Yeah.
there's
someone else.
There's one on
someone we're
like
forgetting.
there's a vintage jersey website that sells a old like a 1967 style Saints 31 jersey, and I can't
What, who-
remember. Like, I don't want like Jim.
Yeah,
Taylor
I think it was
sounds way
Jim Taylor.
too-
Here's one for Nick, though.
Yeah.
What number
Yeah.
is Johnny Poe? Oh, you should know this. He's your most hated player ever, I think.
He's my most
This
hated
is actually
player.
this could be a fun episode. Maybe we go through all the Saints jersey numbers of all time and pick out our favorite and most hated.
You know, Mike Greenberg has a book. I keep hearing him plug it when I listen to ESPN in the morning sometimes, and it's Got Your Number, and he goes through each number in professional sports history and determines. It's like him and his producer from Greeny on the radio, and they determine who is the best in sports history to have each jersey number, or who owns that number in one way or another. So it'd be kind of similar.
Yeah, we could do that. That would be fun.
There's some that are obviously obvious.
That'd be a good episode.
Beyond obvious.
The problem with the Saints, why it would be fun, is we certainly don't have a great player.
No, we don't.
Number. That is certain.
So, yeah, and I think too, with more guys being inducted into the Ring of Honor, if you get to one, not necessarily the Saints Hall of Famer, but one that's a Ring of Honor guy, then you have to go who's the next best at that number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just to Nick's point, think about it. Like just the jersey number 1. Alontae Taylor is probably the best number 1 we've had because not too many players have had that number.
Didn't Adrian
Nope,
McPherson
number 5,
wear that
sir.
when we drafted him?
5.
That's right.
was
You
a
would know.
big Adrian.
You would know.
That actually
Big
would be a
fan.
fun episode too,
Big
going
fan.
over our biggest misses on people we thought were going to be good. Mario Bates would probably be.
Max has a few.
Mario
Mario
Bates
Bates
would
was
be
a big
probably
one.
at the top.
But he had a good little stretch.
Yeah.
He had like 600
he had
yards.
800 and something one year. He averaged like
Yeah,
3.8. Come on.
I mean, he wasn't a complete Bates wasn't a complete nothing, but yeah, I mean, I think you
I guess
expected more out
to
of him.
add a little context to that was when we were probably 12, 13, 14 years old, and in the height of our card collecting days. So it was
We were probably a little older.
14,
than that.
15,
We were
something like
probably-
that. Yeah,
What was he, 93
92,
or
I think.
94 we drafted Bates?
92,
Bates was in
94,
92.
somewhere around there.
He was in the
No, it was
Ditka
before
era.
the Ditka era. Yeah.
Before that, yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
So he played more.
Yeah, it was the end of the Mora era. Yeah.
Damn. I could have sworn he was Ditka. Okay.
He may have still been there when Dickie came
Actually,
because he played
he was the
4 years?
same rookie
4 or
year as
4.
Aaron Glenn because of the Topps Fleer Ultra set.
That's
that was
94. So
Or 93.
yeah,
I think it's 93, dude.
I think it's 94. dude.
It's close. Either way.
Aaron Glenn was 94. I'm 99% sure. So if it's the same,
I'm going to look it up. While
it's the Marshall Falk year. It's the Marshall Falk year. It's
oh, yeah, it was
1994.
the 90. Okay, so
gotta
it was
be.
Falk year. Yeah. So 94. So that was the end of.
We thought we had Marshall Falk. We did not have Marshall Falk.
I didn't call him Marshall Falk. I'm going to tell you that right now. But he was just the big guy that was fast. One of the first height, weight, speed guys.
That's something I would have said if I was old enough to have a podcast back then.
Oh, man, can you imagine if we had a podcast back then? That would have been fun, talking about stealing cards and stuff.
We should do a time machine episode where we can only talk as though you exist in that year.
Okay. Workshop that one a little bit.
All right, I looked him
94?
up, Max. 3,000. Oh, no, I didn't look that up. Hold on, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah, 94. 3,000 yards in his career, 3.6,
Ugh, that's awful.
38 touchdowns. 3.6 is rough.
38 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, he
Total, yeah.
No, it's not
That's a
awful. It's not awful.
Good career figure.
Second round pick.
4 years with
Arizona.
us. He went for 950 once. That was his year. He never crossed 600 again. 950 1 year.
What were his years with us?
94, 5,
So the
6, 7.
95 year was
so it was in
the
the
high
decade.
watermark, right? That was the 950? 95?
Which one?
Yeah, 95.
Second
okay.
year, yeah.
That's what I thought. McPherson was the one where, man, I thought we had a steal.
Yep. I saw him the summer we
We
drafted
hung
him
out with him
in the Saints
the
facility.
summer we drafted him at some shitty Metairie bar.
shit.
You never know, though. The golf cart derailed
Yeah,
him more than he
yeah.
did, right? So maybe he would have been that star you thought if not for that golf cart.
Great what if.
What was? I'm forgetting the
remember?
golf
This
cart.
was before your time, I think.
He got
You were
hit by
still,
He got hit by a golf cart
Against the Titans.
pregame
Yeah.
and hurt his knee. Yeah. And hurt his knee.
Oh. Yeah, that was him.
This
Okay.
is where we
Now I remember
out
now.
Corey
Yep.
for not being a true fan. He's a noob.
Or
He's a
just-
He's a
noob.
toddler.
He's a
Just
noob.
age in general.
Hey, man, you're in your 40s just like
know.
us soon enough.
I'm 39. Damn it. Let me live.
Well, we definitely went off on a tangent there. Any
Um,
other Saints-related thoughts, like actual 2024
We don't do tangents on this
season
pod.
stuff before?
Those were Saints related. They were just old Saints related.
Indeed. But
Right.
Any other thoughts from the game
I-
last weekend? Or
No, I just think if you're finding anything to be unhappy about after watching that game as a fan, you need to chill the hell out.
I don't know that we properly gave groupies. a shout-out.
good point. Good point.
Well, I yelled special teams, but we went on to something else.
It was special teams as a whole, like everybody coached by Darren Rizzi that doesn't put their foot on a ball, balled out. Except for Peyton Turner because he tackled the guy with the ball on our team. But
You blame
Groupie-
Peyton Turner for finishing that, but the whole team held him up on that sideline. No one could believe he was right there. It was hilarious. They looked at Alante, turned around, looked at him, and was like, "Holy shit, what are you doing here?" And then he started trying to block again.
Everybody's so excited to block the play correctly that they're like, "We want to block. We want to block." It's like, get out of my way.
Yep, exactly. But a long punt return, right? Pretty good kick returns, a blocked punt, 4 field goals, one being 57 yards, no real punting. It's kind of a perfect special teams game too.
Joey Plague had the best tweet of talking about all 3 phases. He was like, "My team's got 3 phases," and it was like the gif of the dude reaching his arm out and crying. It was awesome.
There you go.
They were perfect.
But Groupie had a great game. I mean, if you told me before we started that game that, hey, Groupie's going to have to kick 4 field goals, 2 of them from 50 plus, I'd be like, oh, Jesus, I'm not going to watch this shit. Because it's going to be, quote, that kind of a game. But to tell me we scored 47 and Groupie kicked 4 field goals and 2 of them were 50 plus, one of them being a career long.
I will take that kind of game.
More of that, please. Yeah. But back to my favorite word, Max.
Coming. What do you got? There it is.
Consistency. Gotta see it.
I think we're all in the same boat with that. I think
we're
waiting to see what happens this weekend, and hopefully your favorite word comes to
very simple.
fruition.
If you do something good, do it again.
There you go. Well, I'm all out of thoughts. I think it's time to hunker down for this storm. So,
Yep.
Stay safe if you're listening to this and your power's out. And then thanks for using that little bit of percentage of phone battery on us.
Again, thank you for listening to us. This was another episode of the 28th 3 podcast. We'll see you guys shortly. Who dat?
Who dat?